live. Hi, everybody. I am Beth Rusky, and joining me today are my two fabulous business partners, Andrea Henning.
Yes. Hi, I'm here.
Calling in from the Netherlands, and also Peg Rowe.
Hello.
And calling in from the Chicago area. So this is Friday afternoon, and it's around midday for us here in the States. I know it's even past cocktail hour for you, Andrea, over in the Netherlands. You're in New
past cocktail hour, so I was just thinking on my nice wine. My Malbec is waiting for me afterwards.
Good. Well, we're glad you're joining us. We do this every week because we started realizing that we have these really great conversations behind the scenes as leaders of Tiara International. By the way, Tiara International is a women's leadership development company, and we specialize on helping women really be the leaders in their lives. So whether that's at work, at home, wherever, we want you to recognize that you are a leader. So every Friday we have these conversations, and we pick a topic, something that strikes one of us as important or useful or fun. Today, we're going to actually take you through one of our most cherished processes. It's the 1, 2, 3 process. It's a very, sophisticated title. The 1, 2, 3 process was, I think I gave it that name, being the, simplifier that I am. Anyway, this is a great debrief process for anything, anytime. I've used it to coach basketball, to debrief basketball games when I was a basketball coach. We've used it in leadership team discussions. We've used it to talk about projects and debrief projects and client deliverables and situations and parties and weddings. You name it, you can use it in any way. So we're going to walk through the process, and actually we're applying this process though to life in COVID, life in the pandemic. We're going to do a 1, 2, 3 process for life in the pandemic. So what does that mean? We're going to talk about 3 things. We're going to talk about things that are working for us or that we're appreciating. That's the number 1. Number 2, we're going to talk about the disappointments, the frustration, the things that aren't going well. And we're going to clearly talk about those. And then number 3 is the lessons learned. What do we take from this? What are we going to bring forward? How are we going to, continue to live our lives? So we're going to apply our 1, 2, 3 process to life in the pandemic. And I couldn't ask for 2 better colleagues to be joining me with this. So so let's just jump right in. I know you both were really eager when the topic emerged. It's like, hey, this sounds like I'm ready for it.
Yes, exactly.
So let's start with the first thing is, what do we appreciate, or what can we see? And Andre, you always use the term collateral beauty about it, but you can talk about that in a moment. But let's just kind of go around. We'll start making a short list for ourselves. What are some of the things that we appreciate about living life right now in this pandemic?
Yeah.
Who'd like to start?
Yeah, I could start. Like the biggest one overall is that I'm actually rethinking my priorities a lot. First of all, there's the time, and then there's a lot of things that just have been disappearing that were really, really high on priority. So that's really a life-changing experience, like that things can just like disappear that were really, really important. The other thing that I realized was when I looked at 2019, I drove about 40,000 kilometers, which is a lot in a small country like the Netherlands. And I thought I must have been crazy. So it is.
Are we voting on that? Because we can vote right now.
So I will never go back to that again, really, really not. And the third thing that really worked for me is that I deliberately and thoughtfully are connecting to people and with people. We have deep conversations, and we are really like there for each other. It's not about business. It's just about like, how are you doing in this time? What's up for you? And really the sharing there. So these were the 3 things that work for me.
Great. Peg, how about you? What did you
Yeah.
find?
So,
Asking this.
one of the things that's been a gift out of all this is the opportunity to work from home with my husband and my daughter both being here at different times. So, my husband was commuting to Los Angeles every single week and had been doing that for 3 years. And when travel was, curbed and everyone was going to work from home, then his work, basically emanated out of his home office. So, we were here, and then our daughter, who was living in Baltimore, Maryland, was able to come for 2 months and work from home here for 2 months during the summer, and then she's coming back in a couple of weeks, and she'll be here over the holidays. So without this happening, that would never actually have occurred. It just wouldn't. It would not have been something we would have ever considered doing, because work is where you are, and it's where you go. And so it really afforded this really precious gift of an opportunity for all of us to be together in a way that felt really good and feels really good. I would say the other thing is that it eliminated travel for me, which is both a gift in some respects, because again, it felt like sometimes we were racing, between one thing or the other. On the other side, I would also put it as a disappointment, because I actually like traveling. So, it's not an entirely bad thing to travel, but I do notice in a slightly different way than Andrea did, but it is nice to have, a little bit less frenetic travel, if you will, not feeling quite so like we've got to get one place to the other. And then I would say the other thing that's working is this shift to video. And we have been using video for a long time. We've been using Zoom for probably 5+ years. But now we're using it for everything, meetings with clients, meetings with groups, family. And so, that the advent of that technology has made all of this, much more reachable. You can get to everybody, and you can actually, even though it's not the same as an in-person connection, it is a connection. And so I have really appreciated that as kind of a third thing that I would say as a positive that has come out of the COVID experience.
That's great. I'm going to jump on that last one, Peg, because, it's so funny in our business, so many clients, we were trying to push to go to more virtual for cost savings and more efficiency. And a lot of them were resistant. And now nobody's resistant. Nobody's resistant to the virtual world. But it's even so funny because one of the things I had written down was we've come up with creative ways. I've got a lot of nieces and nephews, but I happen to have two little twin boys that are nephews that are 4 years old, and they are so much fun right now. They're at a great age. They don't understand a pandemic. They're walking around with masks on, little masks on, talking about the virus, But the technology, when it started, I remember we did a Zoom session with them, and we cooked Rice Krispie treats. We made them in our house, and they made them at the same time. And we were stirring together and doing all these things together, but separate, and safely. But, just little things like that, we would never have done that, and it's fun. It's small, but it's fun.
Yep.
But, there's other things for me, like on a personal level, my natural body rhythm is stay up late and rise late. So when you're trying to get to an office or a meeting, with a client,
Yeah.
I have to be out of the house a lot earlier. Well, from the work, because I can work at home and in our home office, it's like it just feels more natural. I'm not fighting my own body rhythm, so that's been just a nice little plus. The funny thing is we're in business for ourselves. We can do whatever, we can manage our own schedule. When schedules get crazy like that, like you were talking about, Andrea, one of the things I would say to you is like, and who's making that schedule for you? Yeah, you are, right? We're idiots sometimes.
Yeah.
What else would I say? There's some simple things, when they close down the fitness clubs and things like that. And even though you could go back now, I've chosen not to, and my husband has chosen not to. And instead, we're trying to find ways that we can, encourage each other to work out, around the house or with each other. And so the walking is nice, and we'll walk together, or we'll bike ride. The other thing with it's kind of a slower period, in some ways. Um, I was able to have knee surgery. I would never have taken time off like I had to do for this knee to have that surgery. I just wouldn't have. So that's kind of a strange blessing in disguise, I would say.
I would say right after the surgery, you weren't so sure it was a blessing.
No, I still have friends say, "So are you happy you had it done?" And I always respond with, "Not yet." But I'm getting close. I'm getting close to say, yeah, I'm at least where I was. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anything else pop in? And anyone who's watching this is actually something you can use professionally, personally, as we've said. But as you start to like list things pop off in your head, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm grateful for that." Feel free to add to your list. It's never fully complete. Did
Right.
anything else pop up for you guys as we kind of?
I would say because of the pandemic and because we've gotten the habit of doing everything at home, we're actually saving money. So we're not driving as much. We cook all our meals at home. We don't go out to eat. Occasionally we'll order pickup and go take out and go pick something up and bring it home for like a special occasion. But really we're doing everything like that at home that, we used to be much more in the habit of, grabbing stuff or on the weekends going out. I mean, there are things that I miss about not being able to go out, but at the same time, I would say that, we're back to, pretty much of a cook things from, from beginning to end and save money, and it's healthier and all the other good stuff that goes along with that. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. I would add to that for me, like I have been appreciating a lot more where I live. I'm riding my bike again. It's really gorgeous outside. It has been gorgeous since the 25 years I live here, but it's just like a new appreciation. Oh God, what a nice environment. And you see the
You're not on the road at the crack of dawn and getting home late at night. You actually get to see and appreciate where you live.
Exactly. And I appreciate it when I drive the car, but it's just like quicker. Now you're really out there, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's so beautiful around where I live. So
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch to the second question, the number 2 in the 1, 2, 3 process.
Mm-hmm.
This is when you get to list things that are disappointing, frustration, things you don't like, things that have saddened you. I think the most obvious is, all of the deaths that have occurred, because of this virus, that we haven't been able to save a lot of people, especially, globally, but we're seeing some crazy stuff happening in the States that I wish wasn't happening. But the deaths really, and some people, they haven't had the experience of loved ones, being impacted that severely by COVID. And, but it's still occurring.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely. Yeah. 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 For me, maybe we can add one at a time because it's really heartbreaking. We haven't been in complete lockdown yet again, but it's coming. And what really breaks my heart is see the implication for the food industries. I work with event managers and locations and hotels and stuff, or I work with them. And so we have to, cancel things all the time. So the flexibility, but the amount of dedication and what they have put into that to when they opened again, and how they follow the rules, and then they are the ones that suffer because we shut it down again, even if it's not clear that it comes from there, and it's maybe more the behavior of other people who just don't follow the rules as diligently. And especially when you talk to these people and you have the connection, then it's heartbreaking, the stories there. It is really depressing and existential, and a kind of a resignation energy flows through the whole country. You can feel it everywhere when you go.
Yeah.
So I would actually add on to both of yours. So for Beth, I would add on, in addition to the deaths, I think there's a long-term implication from anyone who's had COVID and we don't know what it is. So I have this heartbreak around the people who have had it and will have long-term health impact that is even unpredictable right now. We have no idea what that impact is going to be. And then Andrea, on yours, I would say for me that the general disappointment has been kind of the impact on the economy overall. Closing businesses, trying to start them up again, people losing their jobs. I mean, all of the impact of that. And that is also heartbreaking because not everyone has the financial reserves or the ability to, to kind of muster through that kind of difficulty. And in this case, it came out of the blue. It's not like, well, poor planning, somebody, is having to deal with an impact that they caused themselves. No one caused this. This is something that has befallen the entire world. And there's no fault to be held here. It really is a matter of this has happened and we're all doing our best globally to manage it. But the impact has been extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary.
Absolutely.
It's impacted our business, our Tiara business. We've had, clients where we were in the middle of projects or whatever, and we're not now, you know what I mean? They were pulled back, they were scaled back. So like a lot of businesses, we've been impacted financially as well. And I know that's a disappointment. It's more, and it's, it's our livelihood. It's, how we pay our bills, of course. I think the other thing is, those of us who have elderly parents still around, I'm so worried. My father died a few years ago. My mother's kind of isolated. She's a little extrovert. She's an independent thing. She's out there doing her thing. And, she can't, because it's just not safe health wise. And while on one hand, she'll say to me all the time, I don't care if I get this thing. I'm like, Mom, you kind of do though, because it's not going to be a peaceful ending. And you're not going to be surrounded by all of us who love you. It's not the way you would have scripted your ending. It's going to be taken out of your control. And that just, it concerns me. I know it bothers my siblings, and we're all doing creative things we can to not have her not be isolated, and still safe. But it's just disappointing that her last years on the earth are going to be like this.
Right. Yeah.
That's true. On a different note, in things that we then miss, is my son has been away. He's living in Iceland. He has been away from January to now. So he came, and he didn't want to get to us right away because he was afraid that he would have caught something. Where I know that Iceland is one of the most safe countries, but he managed to rent a room with a friend, and his girlfriend got COVID for the second time. So now he's really in quarantine. So I haven't seen him, hugged him. He's in the same country now.
Yeah.
10 years. So this is, and I don't, it's not dramatic. It's just kind of strange. And the other day we brought some stuff for him, and we were just waiting outside. He was in the door, so I saw him, and it was freaking cold outside even, so it was not just like, oh, let's hang out here for half an hour. So it was just this weird experiences that you wouldn't just have chosen there. And so that's a bit bitter.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, that was second on my list as well. It's like, it was wonderful that Courtney came here, and I'm glad she's going to come back again in a couple of weeks. And we don't have the kind of freedom and flexibility we had to just say, oh, let's go visit her for the weekend. and jump on a plane and go and see her. And I know that sounds like a silly thing to complain about, and yet in the past we never thought about those things. It's like if we felt moved to go do that, we just would. And so, it feels, that's that kind of restriction of being able to spend time with people that you really, love and adore, and that you don't even have to travel far to spend time with your family, and yet it's still been restricted. You still have had to be really, really mindful of who you can be around and who you can't, and that's just hard.
Yeah. I think the other thing that really is a disappointment is, and I'm just going to speak for my opinion of how the US has responded. We are a collection of 50 states, and that we haven't had more of a unified approach to this. We haven't gotten ahead of it using our intellect and our wisdom and our science, and even now people are still pitting against each other. You can't make me wear a mask, and somehow we lost sight of wearing a mask isn't about you protecting you. It's about you protecting others. And we've lost that piece of humanity right now, or I don't know if it's lost, it's forgotten. It's not being cherished. And we're not in a all for one mentality, and that's really disheartening for me, watching that just play out in so many arenas.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like because we haven't handled this in a unified way, it's had much worse impact than it needed to. Many more people have died, many more people have gotten sick, and that has an impact on the globe. I mean, our economy and how things go here do impact other countries. It's not like we're isolated, we're all by ourselves. We're not. And so I know that we're having a much more far-reaching impact than we might even appreciate sitting in our own homes trying to manage this on our own.
Yeah. And on the same note, like I also see here a growing polarization, a growing aggression. The other day they were distributing masks outside of IKEA, and there were some students doing that as a little bit side job, and really they were attacked for doing that by a couple of people. Maybe it's just 2 or 3 a day, but it's too much. They really are aggressive towards you because they cannot deal with their own frustration there. And this is showing more and more and more. Frankly, I try to avoid getting into that, but it's unmistakable here. Where in the beginning, there was a lot more solidarity and loyalty there. And I love that unified, that's us against the virus and not us against each other.
Yeah.
It started again. Yeah.
So if you're still watching with us, by about now you're wondering, wow, this is rather heavy. This is a downer. This is hard. That's what happens in the second. That's in the 2. The first we talk about what we love, the second, but notice how we've talked about this. This has been, not dramatic. It's been just statements of what's so. This is occurring for me. We're not arguing with each other and saying, oh, that's not true. You just have to let people express it. And so we're trying to model that here for you as well. And remember, when you're using this, whether you're with other people or yourself, that the mood goes down in question 2. It just naturally takes you down. You're talking about heavy, bad, not happy stuff. So let's go back up. And let's hit number 3, which is, what are we learning from this? What are our takeaways? How are we going to move forward? And I like to do this, kind of in a group think as well. And remember that the moving forward can come from both the positive things that you enjoyed and the things that you're trying to avoid, or the negative or the disappointment. So, you can pull your wisdom from both of the first 2 questions. Does anything immediately jump out at one of you for a lesson learned or wisdom?
Yeah, so for me, the learning is what really the most profound that it's so extensionally around me. The rethinking of yourself, the reinventing. It's a big opportunity. I see it as a big opportunity to go back to what is really important, but then even bigger than previously, and not to go back to anything that is distracting, or just being busy for busy's sake, or trying to build something for building's sake. So what is really important? What is solid? What is something I want to cultivate that is really valuable, really of value. So that is my biggest learning, and I really have my commitment is to cultivate that. Even if we, for whatever reason, go back to some kind of normal, I will not go back to where I come from.
Good.
I think the lesson that I would like to take out of it, and I'm going to have to really remind myself of this, is to appreciate what I have in the moment and to really focus on being in the present moment and not rushing to whatever the next thing is that's calling to me. And I know that the reason I say I have to remind myself of it is because the rushing to the next thing is a well-developed muscle. It will take a lot of intentionality to not just automatically fall into that pattern again at some point when we're able to go to whatever the new normal is that may more closely resemble how things were.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. I think for me, one of the lessons I'll take out of this is, and I've been really practicing it, not only are we dealing with a pandemic here in the States, we're dealing with an election, and we are days away from our election. And everyone has an opinion. I don't, I don't even believe there's an undecided voter in the country. I don't. Like, everyone has an opinion. But I think the lesson is listen first. Stephen Covey always said that, listen, first. But listen, for me, I have an opinion. I can be opinionated. I've got a strong personality. Just opening my mouth too quickly can shut somebody down. And I really am curious, like, how is it that you see it that way? And I read a great article about the folks at Apple, Steve Jobs, and a couple of the leaders there. They have a phrase that they start with, and it's "as I see it."
Mm.
And I've really taken that to heart, because it's not the truth then. It's
Right.
as I see it. Wearing masks actually makes sense. While it doesn't hurt, why not? It softens things and gets you out of that combat. So as I see it and listen first are two of the wisdom pieces and lessons I'm taking.
I think my own version of that for years has been in my experience.
In my experience is another way they say it, Peg.
Like that's probably the one that has just come second nature to me for a long time, but I agree with that. I think that's, it is, how do we diffuse the immediate potential for confrontation or for divisiveness, in the way that we language things, recognizing that other people are going to have a different perspective.
Exactly. And I always set the stage when we enter in kind of controversial dialogues. Like, let's just assume that no one's to blame and everyone's right. Mm-hmm. So there is no guilt there, no one to blame, and that you actually are, that you are right. And if everyone is, and that opens up.
That's great.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Mm-hmm. So notice how we've gone from this is the good stuff, oh my gosh, life is awful, to okay, hope. And last week in our Facebook Live, we talked about hope. But there is a little bit of a method to the madness. The 1, 2, 3 process works because now you get, at this point, you get to ask yourself, with this wisdom that is my own, nobody is forcing this on me. I'm looking at my own experience and coming up with my own wisdom. We call them wisdom guidelines. Like, what is it that I want to be committed to? I want to be committed to listening first. I want to be committed to diffusing polarization. I want to be committed to, cultivating creativity. I want to be committed to appreciating things in the moment. I want to be committed to prioritizing what's really important, not just being busy. And if we, not just I, but if we can live our lives, by the way, that was our collective group wisdom right there. If we can live our lives with those as the goalposts, that's the guiding principles for our behavior. That starts to change the process. That starts to change the pattern that we've been stuck in. And that's all you can really hope for is, raising your awareness so that you can positively impact, the next potential thing that you're accountable for. Any final words about the process, about where we're at, about how you're leaving this conversation?
I'm leaving it hopeful.
And Peg froze a minute. Maybe she'll come back. I think for me, I'm grateful that we shared the process because it is a profound, simple process for people. And it can help you move yourself out of being stuck somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Peg, we lost you on video, but we can hear you. Go ahead.
I just turned myself off video because my internet was a bit unstable and I was losing you guys. So what's the question that we're asking now?
No, just wrapping up. Any final words about, the process or how you're leaving the conversation or.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I do love about the 1, 2, 3 process is that it does allow you to leave, this kind of a conversation in a more hopeful place than feeling so undone by all the things that aren't working. Because it's very easy today, I find, to get so focused on the things that aren't working or that are disappointing or frustrating. And I don't want to lose sight of the things that are working and the things that I can take away from it. I really don't.
Yeah, that's great. I know I remember years ago as a leader, I had a mentor say to me, the troubled people you're going to spend about 80% of your time on, and they're worth about 20% of your time. Right. It's like the focus, where you put your focus. So right. Thanks everyone for listening to us today. Thanks for letting us share some of our processes with you. If you like this and you are not, if you're a woman and you like this and you are not a member of our global Tiara Resource Circle, please go to tiararesourcecircle.com. You can join for free. We have programs like this that occur every month. You can join our program and be part of the Tiara community. We'd love to have you. We have thousands of women around the world part of it, and they come and go as they like. And a topic that piques their interest, and they feel it, they need it, they want it, they pull it. So that's the way that we operate. We have a couple fun things coming up, so make sure that you do check us out at tiararesourcecircle.com. And we have all these videos posted on our YouTube channel, tiarainternational.com. So you can see some of the past Facebook Lives and other things that we publish in our video format as well. So thanks for joining us. Take care, and we'll see you probably next week. Bye now.
Bye.